Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining our webinar, Product Ownership with the Atlassian Toolset. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording this webinar, and we'll be sure to email you a link to that recording over the next few days. The email is also going to include a link to register for our next webinar, so more details on that in just a bit. As you have questions, please be sure to type them in the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. We're going to queue those up and answer them toward the end of the session. On the webinar today from Recipro Consulting, we have consultant Brendan Kelly. Brendan is one of our star consultants. He's brought some of the best-in-class solutions to some of our biggest clients, and he delivers killer demos and trainings, trust me. So keep an eye out for this guy. He's a mover and a shaker. And then my name is Evan Perkins. I'm a sales consultant here at Recipro Consulting, and I'll be serving as your moderator this morning. I'm located at our Austin, Texas headquarters, and all I want for Christmas is a private jet so that I can be the first person to attend every single AUG in the world. We're excited to announce some big changes to our webinars for 2016. So for next year, really, it's just due to high demand. We're now going to be offering webinars on both the first and the third Wednesdays of the month to deliver even more product and process knowledge to your teams. We're also bringing you 3 different webinar series, 3 parts each, themed around different aspects of the Atlassian suite. So this will be from maintenance and administration to planning and scaling. And for our first series, Atlassian for non-technical teams. This has been, if you've been following Atlassian, you know this has been a passion of theirs from the start. And with their growing user base and their increased focus on products around IT and business team UX, more and more teams are moving to Atlassian every day. So you'll notice January 6th, we'll have Atlassian for non-technical teams. Then on January 20th, we'll host Confluence for non-technical teams. And then we'll end that 3-part series with on February 3rd with Jira for non-technical teams. So be sure to get your non-technical teams, any production team, marketing, HR, whatever it might be, get those folks on this series to help increase adoption and get your organization collaborating, all the way from developers, to sales to support. So links to register for these webinars will be available on our website, as well as in the email you're going to receive for registering for today's webinar. Little more information about the upcoming one. The first in our non-technical teams webinar series is an overview of the Atlassian suite for business teams specifically. And that's going to be delivered by our very own Brian Nye. Brian has a passion for exploring non-technical use cases of the Atlassian toolset and has implemented solutions for a variety of noteworthy companies and their non-technical teams. So be sure to register for this one, again, on our website or through the webinar recording email, and learn how Atlassian gets your entire organization collaborating to realize your big business picture. Just before we begin, a little bit about Recipro Consulting. We've been Atlassian expert partners for over 7 years now, and we're one of 8 Platinum Enterprise experts in the country currently. And most recently, we're also new members of Atlassian's Charlie Club. Over 99% of the projects that we work on are Atlassian related. We've helped hundreds of clients from 50-person software companies all the way up to Global Fortune 1 be more competitive through process improvements and implementations of the Atlassian product suite. We help our clients primarily with process-centric technology solutions that facilitate traditional business process management, IT service management based on ITIL, and software development life cycles. In the software development lifecycle space, we're helping clients transition from traditional waterfall to the agile methodology. So whatever widget you produce, we help improve the quality and the throughput at the lowest cost. We also support our clients really in all facets of the Atlassian product suite, and we build methodologies and solutions across the entire product line. So we can help with solutions architecting and implementations, licensing, upgrades and maintenance, managed hosting, managed services, integrations, as well as add-on development and training. So a broad range of things. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to Brendan Kelly.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendan Kelly, and I'm a consultant here at Recipro Consulting. I'm also a certified Scrum Master, as well as a certified Scrum Product Owner. And I've helped many product owners and product management teams utilize Agile and the Atlassian suite to effectively ship their products. Today, I'm going to be talking specifically about product ownership in the Atlassian tools. A lot of times when we talk about the Atlassian tools, it's from the perspective of the developers or the development managers. So today, we're going to look at it through the eyes of a product owner. Today, we're going to start off by discussing what it means to be a product owner in Agile and how to actually own that product. From there, we'll talk about how to effectively plan our product and the work related to it. Then, as we're shipping our product and actually building it, we're going to talk about how to keep a finger on the pulse and stay informed about what's going on. Lastly, we're going to talk through some real-world use cases that we've seen with actual clients and the issues that they had and the way that we were able to deliver effective solutions for them. And as Evan mentioned, if you have questions as we're going, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll be sure to discuss those as well. So what does it mean to be a product owner and own that product in Agile? Sometimes we may come into this role from the technical side or from the product side, and we're not really sure what it means as we're working with our Scrum teams. We could be managing a traditional software product, such as a new app, or we could be managing an internal project, such as an implementation or other IT initiative. So as we're talking today, we can basically use these two use cases and the words product and project interchangeably as we're talking about this. So at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is take an idea and bring it into reality, typically as a software product. Nowadays, every company seems to be a software company, and every project seems to touch some sort of technical solution. The Agile framework and the Atlassian tools are going to facilitate this journey from problem to solution and from concept all the way through code. So what is our role in this process as product owners? Our responsibility is going to be to translate the needs and demands of the users or business into terms that the technical team can build. We are also going to be solely responsible for the success and ROI of this project or this product. Overall, I like to think of the product owner as the captain of the ship. Not because we're bossing around the team and telling them what to do, but because we're the ones with our eyes on the horizon, setting the destination and plotting the course of how we're going to get there. We are also going to need to make sure that we make it to our destination and that trip is profitable and successful. This can be quite the responsibility. So our first task is going to be envisioning the product and what it's going to need to do in order to meet the customer and demands of the business. While the Scrum team and Scrum Master are focusing on what they need to build today, we're responsible for knowing what needs to be built tomorrow, next week, and next month to deliver a successful product or project. Now that we know what we need to do, we need to prioritize the order that it needs to be done in. This is one of the largest duties of a product owner. For the millions of things that people want our product to do, we are solely responsible for that perfect set of ordered list of features that will guarantee our product is a hit. And we're always racing against the clock in the form of our burn rate to make sure it's profitable and we have a good ROI. That's why we need to maximize the value delivered every sprint using careful prioritization. Once we know what needs to be built, we need to communicate that to our technical team members. Sometimes we can feel like Google Translate, taking the vague demands of businesses and users and turning it into the detailed language of technical development. Again, this is a lot of responsibility, but luckily the Atlassian tools and the Agile framework are here to help. It's important to keep our role in the perspective of the overall organization. Because although we're captains of our individual ships, there's also other POs in our fleet that are guiding their ships as well. Together, we're planning and prioritizing so the entire business is successful and profitable. But planning at this level can introduce its own complications. We're going to need to know who's going to be doing what, when, in order to accomplish our goals as a company. This is where SAFe comes in, or Scaled Agile Framework. SAFe gives us a structured way to plan and turn our high-level strategies into actual products while maintaining the speed and flexibility of Agile. There are going to be 3 layers in SAFe: portfolio, program, and team. The portfolio level is our highest level, where executive team members are planning our annual initiatives from that 10,000-foot view. Then we are going to have our program level, where we're planning the features and epics for our Agile release trains or product lines to meet those high-level objectives. Lastly, we're going to have the team level, where our individual Scrum teams are actually building the products and completing our tasks. Each level is going to have its own backlog of work to prioritize, plan, and complete. At the portfolio level, we're guided typically by our themes, our annual goals. At the program level, we're guided by our product vision for that product and the roadmap of features that we're going to need to bring to market. As POs, we're going to be the go-between between the program and the team levels to effectively communicate the perspective and overall impact of their daily work in the organization. So it's going to be our responsibility to let the teams know the impact as well as the reason that they're doing a lot of the work that they're accomplishing. Overall, the SAFe framework is crucial to have an aligned plan and a very effective alignment across your organization. Effectively managing scale at this level can be quite difficult, especially transitioning into this model. Here at Recipro Consulting, we love solving the complex problems of scaling Agile and have several scaled Agile program consultants who would love to help your organization with this transition. So now that we understand where it sits inside of the overall organization, we need to convey exactly what we need to do to our actual Scrum teams. We're going to start with the business perspective in the form of the product vision. The product vision is going to represent our project goal and the destination of where we really want to get to. It's also going to discuss how we're going to have a positive ROI and the business case for why we're undertaking this project or this product. From there, we're going to need to translate the needs of the business into the technical speak of our Scrum teams. The best common ground to bridge this gap is going to be from the user's perspective. That's why we use user stories to capture what the functionality and features of the product will need to be in order to be successful for that user. They're going to be written in the format of, as a user, I can do something so that I get some value. This is going to encompass not only the persona, but also the experience of the user, as well as the value proposition for that functionality. A useful acronym to keep in mind while writing these stories is INVEST. Each story is going to need to be I for independent, freestanding and not overlapping, so we can schedule and implement in different orders. N for negotiable, so not overly defined, but open to input from the Scrum team. It's going to need to be V, valuable, worthwhile to build for the customer. It's going to need to be E, estimatable, so we can scope it and accurately understand exactly how much effort will be required. It's going to need to be S, small enough to be completed inside of one sprint. And it's going to need to be T, testable, so that the user can kick the tires and actually see the result of that functionality or that user story. So lastly, now that we've understand what the functionality needs to be from the user's perspective, is we're going to let our dev team and our Scrum team define the scope and really clarify exactly what the edges of that scope are. So that is where acceptance criteria comes in. So during our sprint planning or grooming sessions with our dev team, they can ask questions and clarify exactly what is meant in this user story and what the edge of that scope is for this user story. This is also going to be testable against, so that we're able to accurately figure out if the story was successfully completed, and will also serve as our definition of done. So you may be asking, we've been talking about all these agile concepts, but what about the Atlassian tools themselves? And well, this is where my favorite tool, Confluence, is going to come in. Confluence is our ideation engine and collaboration platform where we can capture and collaborate about our product vision, user stories, and acceptance criteria. Confluence is going to come out of the box with a very powerful product requirements blueprint that we can utilize best practices to capture what our requirements are and then collaborate on them from there. There's also a powerful integration with Jira from Confluence to be able to directly create these issues and have high traceability between Jira and Confluence. So my business team, which is living in Confluence, is able to see what's going on with my Jira issues. where my dev team is working, and that Scrum team is able to see from their Jira issues themselves what the background was with the documentation inside of Confluence. So without further ado, we're going to jump into Confluence itself and talk through how we're going to capture these user stories and create those issues inside of Jira. So today, with 2015 coming to an end, we're going to be talking through the sample use case of building Green Sleeves, which is going to be a mobile app to help partygoers find the best New Year's Eve party to watch the ball drop at. There's always a lot of options for parties to go to, but this app is going to make it as easy as possible to find the best one for them. So our business team is working inside of Confluence, and our product owner is gathering the requirements and figuring out exactly what this app is going to need to do. So you'll notice right away, inside of my space, we're going to have an easy way to navigate to all the documentation and keep things very well managed using our page tree along the side. So underneath our first version, we're planning one epic called Party Finder, which is going to let users actually find the party. So this page was built with the out-of-the-box template available inside of Confluence. And that makes it a lot easier for me to quickly generate this content and have a very well-structured approach, as well as a standardized way to capture my requirements. And it's going to capture information such as the goals, what the background and strategic fit is, as well as any assumptions that are made about this functionality. You'll notice that we also have our requirements table where we can store our user stories, as well as our acceptance criteria, to be able to clearly document that and collaborate on it as well. We can also capture user interaction and design notes, as well as screenshots or any wireframes that we may want to store for this particular functionality or this epic. One of my favorite parts about Confluence is that it makes it very easy to collaborate directly on top of this content, and I can easily comment, mention other people, and bring them into the conversation to be able to quickly refine exactly what our requirements need to be. So once we've completed collaborating on it and know exactly what we're going to do, I can highlight some text. So here, I'm going to go ahead and create my epic. And I can let Jira know exactly which project and which issue type I want to create for this. So I'm going to start off by creating an epic. And again, we'll call this Party Finder. And all I need to do is simply select Create. And now it's going to let me know that an issue has been created inside of Jira. And I even have a little indicator to let me know exactly what the status is, as well as a link over into that Jira issue. So now that I've defined my epic, I'm going to go ahead and define my stories that are inside of that epic as well and push them over into Jira. So I'm going to highlight this text, create my Jira issue, and go ahead and create these as stories. It's going to automatically recognize that it's going to link to this epic. And it's even going to notice that I'm creating issues from a table and let me quickly create all three of those as stories inside of the same project with that same epic link. So now when I select Create, when I come into my table, I can easily see each one of those issues. And if I select the link, it'll pull me into Jira, where from a developer's perspective, I can now see exactly what's going on with this task, what the progress is, what the status is, as well as any conversation that may be happening with it. And then if I'm a Scrum team member and I want to read more about the requirements and what the discussion was like about that, I can easily navigate back into Confluence from my links section inside of my Jira issue. So very easy for us to collaborate and stay in the same loop, exactly what's going on with our stories. So now that we know what work needs to be accomplished and what our user stories are, it's time to plan out exactly who's going to be doing what. And as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This can be very hard in an agile environment because you're not forecasting every minute of every project as we used to do in the waterfall mentality, but rather trying to stay reactive to the market while still planning out going forward. So we're going to need to strike a very delicate balance between planning effectively so people know what's going on and still being reactive in capturing the speed of agile. So as we're planning, we're going to the program level and trying to figure out exactly what our individual teams are going to need to do. So it's imperative that we plan at this level, otherwise we're flying blind and we can't ensure that we're going to deliver value to the customer over time. And that can really determine the long-term ROI of our product and overall success of our business. So all the product owners will meet at the program level to determine who will work on which part of our program backlog. This will determine our product's roadmap and which features will be completed when. Planning this roadmap in Agile without losing our flexibility and speed can be quite tricky. We typically recommend planning features over the next 3 major releases or program increments to be able to effectively see what's going to be happening in that time period. While it can be tempting to plan what's going to happen 2 years from now, by then the market will have shifted, so we want to be able to plan with enough room to be able to be flexible to what's going on in that market. So the Atlassian tools include a very powerful tool called Portfolio for Jira, which is going to let us visualize and plan effectively across our teams to be able to visualize that roadmap and make those decisions about who will be accomplishing what in order to effectively deliver the features we need to get to the market within the right time frame. So before Portfolio for Jira, it was extremely difficult to get the perspective across individual projects and teams, but now we can pull those teams' issues into Portfolio for Jira and plan accordingly and then make our decisions about what our roadmap will be and have our teams execute from there. Another interesting feature with Portfolio for Jira is we can also integrate with our business teams, which are working in Jira core projects. And those could be our marketing team, our legal team, or any of those other business teams that might have interdependencies, such as contracts, marketing plans, content generation, anything like that. So with Portfolio for Jira, we're able to get a lot of traceability and visibility across our overall organization. So how is Portfolio for Jira going to help us plan our roadmap and really see what's going on with our work? It's going to let us visualize and analyze the iron triangle of project management, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Essentially, as we're working with a project, we're going to be constrained either by time, scope, or our budget and resources. So as we're planning, we need to keep this iron triangle in mind, and Portfolio for Jira is going to let us understand and analyze the trade-offs of our plan and how it's going to impact these parameters and these constraints. So we're going to be constantly weighing the scope of, we're going to weigh the backlog with the capacity of our teams and the resulting impact on our timeline of releases. And Portfolio for Jira is going to let us model that, quantify it, and analyze it. This is really going to help set up our teams for success and also the product as well. So in Portfolio for Jira, we're going to model the work that needs to be done, and this can include our epics and our stories. And then from there, we can reflect what our capacity will be based on our team schedules and also their availability, such as vacation and skills as well. We'll also be able to model our releases directly from our Jira projects themselves. And then from there, get visibility on what our release schedule will be and how well we'll be able to make our releases. Once we know what team's going to be working on what, we're going to go back to our individual Scrum teams with our backlog and then prioritize it so they understand the business priority of that backlog. In Agile, it's paramount that the Scrum team has the autonomy to commit to a certain amount of work. So by giving them an ordered backlog, they're able to select how much work they believe they'll be able to complete within a sprint based on our estimates. So it's vital that this backlog is prioritized with the most important features on top. So things to keep in mind as we are prioritizing our backlog is going to be the value for the end user of those features, as well as the story cost, not only in time, but also in the resources that are going to be required to complete them. We also have to keep in mind the impact and interdependencies of those stories on other work that's going on, and the risk associated with losing certain opportunities as we're working on those stories. So now that we have our issues inside of Jira, we're going to go to our Portfolio for Jira to effectively plan out our release and how we're going to be working on this. So jumping back over into Jira, I'm going to navigate to my portfolio. And the answer we're really trying to answer, or the question we're trying to answer here is, can we add in the new feature that we just planned in Confluence and make it within our December 31st release? So you'll notice now I'm in the backlog where I'm going to introduce any new work. My people tab is where I'm setting up my capacity. So you'll see we have team ball drop and their velocity, as well as all the individual members. Where from here, I can also add in their availability, as well as limited presence in the team. Underneath releases, I'm going to be able to import my releases from my individual Jira projects, and then determine their start and end dates either on a fixed or dynamic schedule. So I can either say we know we're going to release on the 31st, or I can actually let Portfolio calculate that release for me. In my Reports tab, I'm going to have visibility as far as exactly what's going on. And we have a relatively straightforward plan here because we're looking at one team in particular. But in general, as we bring in multiple teams, this will really help understand a Gantt chart view of what's going on, as well as additional information about capacity inside of individual sprints. So I'm going to go ahead and import those issues that we created inside of Confluence by selecting Import Issues. And I know we are working with these issues in particular here. So I'll import all three. And then import those into my backlog. So we'll be able to see what the estimate is, as well as map it to the release that we want to release it within. And then from here, I can calculate whether or not we can hit our release. So you'll see here, you'll see along the bottom here on our timeline that our projected release date was the 31st, or our actual release date that we're planning for is the 31st. And based on calculations with our capacity and the amount of work that we have inside of that release, you'll see that we're going to be able to actually finish early and complete it on the 28th of December. So this is very valuable to see exactly how our releases are going to come together and what we're going to need to complete inside of each one of those releases. So from here, our teams are going to be able to go into their individual agile boards and plan their work accordingly. So as we prioritize and drag these up and down to create what our prioritized backlog will be, we can also plan our sprints effectively and pull in what issues will be inside of that sprint as our team makes a commitment. And then all we need to do is simply select Start Sprint and then start our actual sprint. So now our teams know exactly what they need to accomplish within the sprint, and they can use these agile boards to map their progress as they work on those stories. So we're going to jump back in the slides and talk about, as a product owner, how do we stay informed about what's going on as we're actually building our product. So the Atlassian tools are going to give us a lot of ways to maintain visibility and stay informed about what's going on inside of our project. I like to think of this as an easy way to stay in the crow's nest of our ship and understand not only where we're going looking forward, but also in general what's going on inside of the actual ship. One of the hardest parts of being a product owner is once the ball is rolling, we're responsible for understanding the project's progress and keeping a finger on the pulse of the team while still giving them the autonomy they need to deliver that product. Sometimes we're prone to get over-involved in the actual completion of stories because we're used to more control inside of Waterfall. Remember, we're representing the business and letting our teams do their thing while still keeping an idea of what's going on inside of that actual project and those products. So it's nice because the Atlassian tools are going to give us the visibility into what's going on, so we don't have to be that guy hovering over our developers' shoulders and constantly bugging them for status updates and really slowing down their progress. There's going to be a lot of different options, the first of which is going to be through the dashboards and Kanban boards available inside of Jira software itself, so we can stay informed about what stories are out there, any potential blocked issues, as well as the discussion or potential issues that might come up on those stories. From there, we can also use the Release Hub in the project overview section to understand the health of our releases, including more technical tools such as Fisheye, Crucible, and Bamboo, which are going to have information about the different merging and collaboration happening with our source code, as well as our systems integration testing and deployment, our deployment functions as well inside of Bamboo. So a lot of easy ways to visually see what's going on with those sometimes complicated tools. Also, as we're keeping our business users up to date about what's going on, we can use reports inside of Confluence to pull information out of Jira and have a discussion around it. So as we are trying to keep everybody up to date, we can create these reports, embed Jira issues inside of them, and then pull people into the conversations to let them know exactly what's going on. Lastly, we're going to use HipChat for our mission control. So as issues are updated or as certain tasks are completed, people will receive real-time notifications about what's going on, and they're able to discuss them. So again, with all four of these options, we're going to have the ability to see what's going on inside of Jira, as well as have a discussion around it to mitigate any issues and just in general keep progress moving. As we're completing sprints and moving forward with our product, and as it's beginning to evolve and develop, we can also use the Atlassian Health Monitor, which is a relatively new tool that's come out, which is a good way to make sure that as we're continuing with our project, we're staying healthy and staying on track. Just to make sure that your project is sustainable and your Scrum team can continue being a lean, mean, story-building machine. The way that this is going to work is it's going to be 8 questions that we're going to ask, typically along with our retrospective, to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that our project is aligned with the best practices for project management. The first one is going to be, do we have a full-time owner? So is there one single accountable person who's accountable for driving this project? And if that person changes, what are the impacts of that change? So sometimes the answer will probably be you as a product owner, but it could also be a key stakeholder who is facilitating this project as well. The second question is going to make sure that we have a balanced team and everybody knows what their role is and we have all the skills necessary to accomplish our stories and complete a successful product. The next one is that we have a shared understanding of the business objectives and the why behind our project. So this is going to most likely be encompassed inside of our product vision, but just making sure that everybody's aware of the high-level reason and objectives for this project. Along those lines, we're also going to have the value and metrics to quantify and really understand the value and impact that we're going to have with this product or with this project to make sure that we're stay in the loop and have a clear understanding of what success is. As we're working, we're also going to do end-to-end demos to make sure that we have the functionality built out and we're not getting stuck too much in the analysis paralysis of over-planning without actually building a tangible product. Also, we're going to have a README document, which is going to serve as a one-pager identifying the reasons and background behind the project or the product, so that again, everybody is on the same page and they really know what's going on. Also, we're going to go through our dependencies, both internal and external, so we are aware of any complexities or potential issues that can come from inside or outside of our project, and in general, make sure we're able to quickly deal with any issues that may come up. Lastly, we're going to make sure that we're actually maintaining a velocity, and what that's going to mean is that we're continually making progress and actually delivering our stories and making sure our product is evolving and building and growing further. So as we are continuing in our agile project management and we're going through our sprints, an important aspect of the job is to understand what's going on, what the user feedback is for our project or product. So whether you're managing an external product or running an internal project, such as an IT initiative, it's really important to keep a finger on the pulse of what the customers are saying. So the Atlassian tools are going to give us 3 powerful tools to help with this. We have the Jira Issue Collector, Jira Service Desk, and HipChat Connect. Jira Issue Collector is going to allow us to embed a feedback form on our website so customers can let us know what they think. And in general, anywhere that we're using HTML or CSS, we can embed a form that they can create an issue inside of our Jira instance. So once they create this issue, we can work it through the necessary workflows, capture whatever information we want, and just in general have visibility into what they are thinking. Jira Service Desk is typically used by support teams to help customers with issues that may come up, but we can also use this as a way to collect surveys and just in general get feedback from our customers about what they're thinking about the products. It's a very robust functionality and user interface to make that a very seamless and easy way to collect that feedback. HipChat Connect is a lot of new functionality for HipChat. It's going to expand the way that we can use it, as well as integrate with other systems to interact directly with our customers and users inside of HipChat to get that feedback and have that direct conversation. So there's a lot of options out there. So if this is something that you're looking to increase or utilize the Atlassian toolset for, please feel free to reach out to us and we can clarify anything and provide some guidance. So it's nice to talk through the conceptual side, but how can we actually apply this to an organization? We've seen and solved a lot of issues in this area and helped a lot of product owners and product management teams better utilize Agile and the Atlassian tools to make their lives a lot easier and ship better products. One client that I was recently working with was a live gaming company out on the West Coast, and they were looking to use Confluence and Jira to better effectively plan and manage their work. So in a very short period of time, we were able to configure a Confluence space for the requirements gathering and the corresponding Jira workflows and data models aligned with the best practices for scaled Agile and the Atlassian tools as well to effectively plan and complete their work from Confluence and inside of Jira. So in Confluence, we were able to deliver a solution that was easy to navigate. It captured the breadth and depth of the requirements and increased the overall traceability inside of their tool. In Jira, we used our best practice knowledge of process and data models to give developers the information they need while capturing their process and encouraging the safe best practices for project management. Another company that we were able to help with was more on the planning side and utilizing Portfolio for Jira to effectively plan their roadmaps and organize what work each team would be working on. We were able to build several plans and show them the best ways to effectively manage and maintain their roadmap and do release planning inside of Portfolio for Jira. They had about 20 teams and a large number of releases, so it was very interesting to work with them and help them understand how to effectively use the tool to plan out across all those teams. It's also an interesting project because as we work with Portfolio for Jira, we have the opportunity to give guidance on how to effectively scale and improve the processes inside those underlying team projects as well. So please let us know if you've noticed any, or if you think you could use assistance similar to how we've helped these organizations as well. So today, we've covered what it means to be a product owner. We talked about how to effectively plan our product inside of the Atlassian tools. We've also talked about how to keep a finger on the pulse as we're shipping that product, and some real life use cases from clients that we've worked with in the past. So now we're going to go ahead and talk through some questions.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brendan, for that information. Very helpful, very interesting to know how traceable all of this can be through the Atlassian software. So as Brendan said, let's go ahead and open it up to questions. Utilize that questions box in your GoToMeeting control panel. And we'll just get started here. Do see some waiting for us. First question for you, Brendan. Does Jira Portfolio give you a hierarchical view of all work for a given epic? Features, stories, etc.
Yep, so Portfolio for Jira is going to give us the opportunity to see all the stories that are inside of a given epic. And then from there, we can effectively manage and work with and plan that work. Another interesting feature that can help with this hierarchy is that we're able to create interdependencies between those stories to accurately reflect any impact that they may have inside of that epic. Another thing to note is that Portfolio does introduce a new issue called an initiative, which will help roll up all of our epics so it can group together multiple epics together. So in general, there's a lot of ways for Portfolio for Jira to give you that hierarchical hierarchical view of the work for a given epic.
Great, thank you. Our next question, little clarification on the product. Is Portfolio for Jira still an add-on for Jira? And if so, which product is it an add-on to? Is it Jira Software, Jira Service Desk, Jira Core? This is a two-part question, so maybe you could.
Yep. So Portfolio for Jira is going to be an add-on that sits on top of our different applications. So we can have a Jira Software, a Jira Service Desk, and Jira Core applications that are all getting information pulled into our Portfolio for Jira, and it's still effectively planned across those applications and all the projects that are contained inside of them.
Okay, great. So yeah, that was the second question. Can you pull or push data from your different Jira products? So clearly you can. Thank you. All right, our next question here, a little different vein. It says, given all the buzz around HipChat Connect lately, how can product owners use HipChat to better manage product development?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of ways for us to utilize HipChat Connect to really help with the product development. One of the two ways, if you look at it, are from an internal perspective and an external perspective. So internally, we're going to have a lot more functionality and ability to see what's going on inside of our other Atlassian tools, as well as any other dev tools that we may be using as we're actually building the project. And that's going to let us have updates as well as detailed information that we can drill into about what's going on. And from there, we can have a discussion and really use HipChat as our source or our main collaboration point about what's going on across many tools, not only Atlassian, but other ones as well. And then externally, we've seen a lot of use cases that are very interesting for product development to really gather that customer feedback, not only by way of surveys and other general information gathering like that, but also by directly talking to our customers and providing a way for our developers or product analysts or anybody internally to directly interface with our customers and talk to them accordingly. So again, there's many ways for us to leverage it internally and externally to really help with our product development process.
Great, thank you for that. Here's another question from an attendee that says, we are growing in our organization and we want to move from just kind of a more simplified Scrum methodology or framework to SAFe, to the Scaled Agile Framework for the Enterprise. So we want to move from just Scrum to SAFe. What are some of the pitfalls in reusing our existing Jira projects?
Yep, so as you are scaling Agile and you are looking to use SAFe, one of the things that typically comes up is in order to plan effectively inside our Portfolio for Jira and just to plan in general, we're going to need to standardize some of the ways that your teams are working in their individual Jira projects. And that can include the workflows included as well as the way that they're estimating work. So we're going to need to figure out the best way to standardize enough to the point where we can effectively plan across those teams while maintaining their autonomy that is fundamental inside of Agile.
Okay, great. Let's see here. One other question. As a product owner, so as a PO, what are some recommendations you have for me using reporting inside of Jira?
Yep, so there's going to be a lot of ways as a product owner to have visibility into what's going on inside of our actual Jira projects. One of the best ways is to use a dashboard for that finger of the pulse view of what's going on with my issues and being able to jump into the issues themselves for more detailed view. Another way that we're going to be able to see this is by using the reports inside of the actual Jira projects to view historical trends and just in general know what our performance is as well as what the status of the issues is. Lastly, we can use reports inside of the Jira software boards to see our epic and release burn downs to know what our progress is and how we've been doing. So again, there's a lot of different ways to look at that information. Dashboards, reports, and the reports inside of the Jira software boards themselves will really give the visibility you need as a product owner.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question came in. Who do you reckon? I think you may have covered this, but they asked, who do you recommend serves as a PO on a team? So who do you recommend would serve as a product owner on a team given the diversity of a team?
Yep. So a product owner can come from a wide set of different backgrounds. If you're in more of a technical use case, a product or more technical manager would be appropriate for this role. It could also be somebody who is a business analyst or project manager in more of a waterfall shop. In general, we just want to make sure that they have at least 80% of their time dedicated to this project to make sure that they can effectively manage their product and manage that project.
Okay, got it. That's 80% rule is a good rule. Here's an easy one. Will y'all cover portfolio for Jira in the Jira for non-technical teams webinar? Even I can answer that one. Yes, of course, we will. We'll be sure and touch that point. All right. No, there aren't any other questions that I see. So with that, we'll move through just concluding today's webinar. So we mentioned this last time. We wanted to cover it again. We're really excited to announce that we'll be offering Expert Accelerator Day sessions both in Austin and in Dallas, Texas this January. So these seminars are going to focus on the enterprise line of Atlassian products and give attendees best practices in scalability, monitoring, reliability, and also maintenance. So be on the lookout for more information on these days in your email inbox and also on our website, Recipro.com. Some great questions today, everybody. Thank you so much. A lot of good topics to be covered in our upcoming webinar series. Remember, it's Atlassian for non-technical teams. So go ahead and mark your calendars for January 6th, January 20th, and February 3rd, 2016, and look for links to register on our website and in the webinar recording email. Feel free to pass this on to any of the non-technical folks at your company who you think could benefit from getting Atlassian in their lives. You could be their business technology solutions secret Santa, if you will. Another reminder, the first in the webinar series will be January 6th with Brian Nye, and Brian's going to give you an overview of how Atlassian can revolutionize the way your non-technical teams work. So with Jira Core and all the innovation going on with HipChat Connect, your business teams deserve to get in on the action, right? You want to increase Atlassian adoption outside just your tech teams, and this webinar and the others in this series are going to be very helpful for that. All right, well, thank you so much again, everybody, for joining our webinar this morning. If something in this time piqued your interest and you want to hear more about how Recipro Consulting can help you get improved processes and awesome software, please email us at contact@recipro.com, or you can contact us through our website, recipro.com. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next month.